As you're looking at these forecasts, a bump in one direction or the other could have really significant ramifications in terms of impact. If it bumps further east, that obviously is positive. If it bumps just a little west, then you're looking at really, really significant impacts. And so don't make any assumptions. Remain vigilant and be prepared. We're going to continue to monitor the situation here in the state with fuel and traffic flows and take action as is necessary. But everyone should continue to monitor the storm and follow the direction from your local officials. As many of you know, as of this morning, the following counties have issued mandatory evacuation orders. Brevard County, starting on Sunday. Martin County has issued a partial, and then a number of counties have issued voluntary evacuation orders. Glades, Hendry, Martin, Osceola, Palm Beach, St. Lucie. Obviously, those evacuation orders could change. So just continue to follow local updates, but remain prepared. Continue to make preparations, and we will hope that the trend continues. But there is still significant chance of a strike on the state of Florida. If you look at that cone, anyone inside that cone needs to be prepared. And so, we're continuing to click on all cylinders here, and are going to continue to be monitoring the situation and working with both our local and federal partners. And we do have FEMA has been engaged with us from the beginning. We really appreciate that, and we have time to take some questions.
Governor, thank you for letting us get into the audio of the briefing. I wanted to ask you, with the two counties that have issued evacuation notices, are you doing anything to enhance that evacuation, lifting tolls or doing anything with the shoulders? Can you elaborate?
We are going to monitor the traffic flows, and if the traffic becomes abnormal, then we will take needed action to alleviate that. However, at this point, we do not see any abnormal traffic on the roadways, and so those options are on the table, and if need be, they can be exercised.
Governor, are you worried that people are seeing the track and just assume it'll continue to go one way and maybe not heed evacuation orders, dip into their hurricane supplies a little bit earlier?
Yeah, obviously, I think you don't want to overread these tracks. Because you can look at a little bit of a movement to the west, and then all of a sudden we're looking at a much different scenario if that were to come out, say, later today. But I also think what we've tried to do here is just be very factual, be very direct with people. We haven't tried to overreact, but we've also tried to, put out the information and explain the risks. And so I think the fact that we've taken that approach, I think people look and say, okay, it looks like it's been positive movement, but we're not out of the woods yet. So I think people are going to probably still understand, that preparations need to be made, and understand, even if it doesn't directly strike Florida, this is a big, powerful storm. You're still looking at really significant storm surge on the east coast of Florida. You're looking at major flooding events in different parts of the state. And so the effects can range, but you're still looking at significant impacts even if the storm remains hugging the coast. So just be vigilant, listen to your local officials, follow the news, and do what you need to do to protect yourself and your families.
Governor, how would you describe the fuel situation today as compared to yesterday?
Better. Yeah, we had the trucks, they were in all night refueling. You're starting to get, those are now moving to the gas stations. Obviously, as the track has shifted a little bit, I think you're just naturally going to see less people in, say, Miami-Dade County waiting in line for gas. And so some of that will be, I think, taken care of with demand. But we had all these things going all night. We did the escorts as necessary. So I think the situation will likely be improved. Actually, I spoke with the president about it last night, and he offered support. We're not sure that that's going to be necessary, but we've been working with the federal partners to see if there was a need, what we would be able to do for that.
Can Can you tell us where you are most concerned about the flooding and surge impacts at this point?
Well, I think there's a number of places. I mean, there's places that aren't even on the East Coast that have been flooding already, and so even if they get outer bands of rain, that's going to be a problem. You have places that have king tide that are already. I mean, some of these docks, the water's already up to their docks, and then you have things like the St. Johns River, where if that gets heavy rainfall, so there's a lot of spots around the state that'll be affected by this. Even if it does stay off the coast of Florida.
Because of the slow approach and what it could do to the waves and tides and everything, is there concern about people going out and going to the beach and playing in it for 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean, I think people should listen to the local folks about where those risks are. But I think people who've covered these things know, when you have storms approaching, it creates waves. That attracts people because they want to do that. But that is hazardous and that's very dangerous. And so people need to heed the warnings. And if there's any type of orders issue with respect to that, they should certainly heed those because that could be very, very hazardous.
How has the shift in the track changed preparations on? We heard the briefing, but how does that change either operationally or getting supplies to different areas?
Well, I think it focuses the response and the preparations a little bit more. I mean, we were here 2 days ago, and the cone covered almost the entire state of Florida. Okay, well, are we going to have are they going to have people in Fort Myers ready to go? Now, as it shifts east, that means Southwest Florida, Northwest Florida, the chance of them being affected, the chances have gone down dramatically. And so that just makes us, I think, be able to do more, with the resources that we have. And so that's, part of this is I think the trend has been positive, but part of it is, we do have more certainty now today of the general direction of this thing than we did 48 hours ago. And I'll tell you, you're looking at some of this stuff, and there's going to be more data that comes out. You can't, guarantee it's going to do this or that. Some of the trends have been positive. Like if I knew some of these models were definitely the case, I'd feel a lot better. But some of them are right, some of them are wrong. I mean, those European spaghetti plots are great right now. They all go into the sea. Well, they haven't necessarily been right in the past on everything. So you got to remain vigilant.
Well, I wanted to ask Director Moskowitz, during the briefing that was mentioned that Hurricane Andrew was expected to make the same turn this storm's expected to make, but it didn't. Does that give you pause?
Well, I think as the governor just outlined, right, I mean, people need to be vigilant. The Division of Emergency Management is still doing our job. Obviously, there's a Category 4 storm off of our coast. So, there's lots of things that you stay the course on, but obviously you start to make smart, more targeted decisions like the governor was talking about as things start coming out of focus. I mean, just a couple of days ago, we were looking at a worst-case scenario with a Category 4 hurricane coming across the peninsula, winding up in the Gulf, and doing a double impact into the Panhandle. That's no longer predicted, right? So those are the scenarios you can take off the table and the preparations you can take off the table. But at the end of the day, there's still lots of things we have to do. Just remind ourselves about Hurricane Matthew hugging